Reserve Bank of India today announced its second quarter monetary policy. The central bank, while announcing a cut in the cash reserve ratio, that CRR, by 0.25%, also lowered the GDP growth forecast for 2012-13 to 5.8% from 6.5% projected earlier. The CRR now comes to 4.25%, and it will ensure injection of 17,500 crore rupees of liquidity into the banking system. The RBI also raised the year-end inflation estimate to 7.5% from 7%. The bank has kept the key lending and borrowing rates unchanged.
The Reserve Bank of India on Tuesday left its key policy rate unchanged but reduced cash reserve ratio in its second quarterly monetary policy. The RBI has cut cash reserve ratio by 25 basis points, which aims to infuse additional liquidity into the financial system. The CRR has been cut to 4.25% from 4.5% at present. CRR is the portion of deposit that banks have to retain in form of liquid assets with the RBI. The new rates will be effective from November 3rd. The cut will infuse 17,500 crore rupees into the system. The easing of CRR would prompt banks to cut interest rates.
We expect that today's policy actions and the guidance we have given will result in the following three outcomes. First, liquidity conditions will facilitate a turnaround in credit growth to productive sectors so as to support growth. Second, as inflation risks moderate, the growth stimulus of the policy actions announced by the government will be reinforced. And finally, the policy action will anchor medium-term inflation expectations on the basis of a credible commitment to low and stable inflation.
The central bank also revised its growth outlook for 2012-13. RBI has estimated GDP growth at 5.8% as 6.5% earlier. During the annual policy in April, RBI has estimated 7.3% growth. At the same time, it upped the headline inflation projection to 7.5% compared with 7% indicated in July.
The baseline projection of GDP growth for 2012-13 is revised downwards from 6.5% to 5.8%. Moving on to inflation, headline WPI inflation remains sticky at about 7.5% on a year-on-year basis through the first half of the current year.
The other move ushered in include a revision in priority sector lending norms, guidelines to banks on restructuring and non-performing assets management, management of unhedged currency exposure of companies, and insistence of timely reporting of advances to credit information companies. RBI said that government's reforms efforts are in right path, but added that immediate implementation and continued measures are needed to bring the economy back to growth path.
Finance Minister is believed to be upset over RBI's decision to leave interest rates unchanged on inflation concerns, even when the government unveiled a 5-year fiscal consolidation roadmap ahead of the policy. He even went on to say that the government will walk the path alone when it comes to growth challenge. RBI had announced a cut in the cash reserve ratio by 25 basis points, but the key rates were kept unchanged.
Government has to walk alone to face the challenge of growth. Well, we'll walk alone. Government is doing its best to send a clear message that we are on the path of fiscal consolidation. And it is my hope that everyone will read and understand government's commitment to fiscal consolidation. I haven't read the last few paragraphs of the statement, but if it holds out hope for the future, I look forward to that future. Sometimes it is best to speak, sometimes it is best to be silent. I think this is a time for silence.